Back when right on meant you stood for something and brothers marched with purpose in they step. A young Harold Bell picked up a mic and said, if truth got a home, I'm gonna broadcast that. From the 65 to right now, he ran a lane. Voice of the city, part of the game. Decade changed, but the message stayed same. Harold Bell put respect on his name. From the OG day to the year 25. Truth on the mic, keep the legacy alive. From the OG days to the year 25. Truth on the mic, keep the legacy alive. Back in 65, the block still said dig it. Petey Green on the airwaves, the realest to kick it. Harold slid through like Bet, took no, stayed vivid. When the hood had pain, he said somebody got a bridge. In 71, he turned the knob inside sports on the map. No cap, first black host doing play-by-play facts. Radio crackling, community tap in. If a lie hit the streets, Harold Bell started scrapping. Say it loud, era. Folks fought to be seen. Harold fought for the ones overlooked in between. Players, kids, legends, the future unseen. He put the whole DMV on his team. Fighter right now, he ran a lane. Voice of the city, part of the game. Decade changed, but the message stays same. Harold Bell put respect on his name. From the OG days to the year 25. Truth on the mic, keep the legacy alive. From the OG days to the year 25. Truth on the mic, keep the legacy alive. Yeah, fast forward. 80s crack the pavement, DMV slang shit for vibe in the basement. Go-go drums knocking, what's good? Round the way, hell still holding down the youth every day. When talk shows turn spooky, he stays solid. Didn't chase clicks, didn't fold for a dollar. He had Jim Brown pull up, Ollie on the line. Sports radio, man, he redefined. By the 90s, folks, your facts before it was a trend. Harold been fact checking them way back then. Gatekeepers hated him, he ain't been. Told Earl Lloyd's story to the hall, let him in. Keep it 100. He kept it 1,000. Long before social media started wildin'. When most shows played it safe about race, Harold Bell said names to they face. I'm a 60.
Harold, this is Bill Hanson in Dallas. I lost your phone number when you called the other day, and I finally had to track through your notes, and I finally found this here. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, but your stuff is fantastic to read about, and everything you've done is makes what my little bit appealing off the cover of white privilege, as you say, seem rather insignificant. But I thank you for sharing this with me, and hope this message gets to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, Harold has been a crusader for the rights of black people all of his life. He has also been a crusader that has had a lot of friends, not only in the black community, but the white community in sports. He's always been outstanding, always an individual, always speaking his mind, always giving you a platform to express your views. And when I was incarcerated, he did everything he could to attack those that incarcerated me unfairly. And he's one of my friends over the years. We've done many things together. So Harold is truly a man that believes in his culture and his people and will always be that way because nobody's ever been able to change him. So, hey, that's my partner.
This is the heavyweight champion of the world, George Foreman, for the best in sports and sports personalities. When I am in Washington, D.C., I check out my good friend Harold Bell and Inside Sports. Talking about a real champion. Harold Bell and Inside Sports.
I can be Harold Bell. You the hottest thing going, then I want to be you. Hi, this is Don King of Don King Productions for the undisputed champion of sports talk. You must turn to my man Harold Bell and the original Inside Sports. For the best in sports and sports personalities, Inside Sports and Harold Bell are knockouts.
Hey. This is Franklin Ivy, the heavyweight champion of the wide world. I got all of you to check out Inside Sports with my main man, Harold Bell. Inside Sports, it's a knockout.
All right. Hi, I'm Harold Bell. Thank you so much, Shannon, for that great introduction. You know, when nobody knows you, you have to kind of put it out there. So thank you, Shannon, for putting it out. I'm your host for the second chapter of the original Inside Sports, coming to you from the Inside Sports Legacy Network. My co-host was born here in the DMV. He is a media strategist, creator of everything DMV radio. He is one of the brightest young minds using sports, music, and storytelling to reach the next generation. He is a builder, a connector, and a man on a mission to make sure our history, our athletes, and our communities get the spotlight they deserve. Family, I would like to welcome my co-host and executive producer, Shannon Ramtree, better known as DJ Big Bak. How you doing, Big Bak?
Hey, what's happening, my man? Harold Bell, what's going on? The legend, the legacy.
You the man. We got a great show, man, today, man, that just get right to it. I want you to introduce our first guest, and then we'll roll on from there.
Absolutely. So today we have someone who has been doing so much work in the field, and an incredible story that he put together about the ABA, flamboyant rival league to the NBA and its players. They create much of what the billion-dollar NBA is today: the three-point shot, the slam dunk contest, fashion, culture, innovation, but then forgotten in a business deal gone bad. Tiny nonprofit started fighting back, and in this, film, this is like David versus Goliath. So we got none other than the award-winning, the Emmy Award-winning director and writer, Michael Husain.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, how are you?
All right, man. Welcome, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, man.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Great film. Congrats.
Tell us about this battle with the NBA. It's always been about a dollar bill and greed, so you knew that you had your hands filled when you went in there. Tell us about how you brought your team together and where the fight started, Michael.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. I mean, the film opens with a quote from an old Bruce Springsteen song. It's like, "Once I made you rich enough to forget my name."
Right.
And that's kind of the essence of what this story is about. The ABA was an incredible league, right? But it was a shooting star. It only lasted for 9 years. It was formed in 1967, ended in 1976, and it was a lot of what you see on the NBA courts today. If you look at what the NBA's origin story is, it's not really the NBA itself, it's the ABA. So the ABA, as Shannon was saying, they introduced the three-point shot. They embraced the slam dunk and basically just the athleticism and the pace of play that we see on the court today. They brought entertainment to basketball. Basketball in the mid-'60s, kind of boring. It was predominantly white. It was slow. It was methodical. And games were 60-55 as like a final score kind of thing. That's the first quarter in an NBA game. And so the ABA came in and said, let's turn it up. And so they played with a red, white, and blue basketball. Which everybody, like, if you talk to players today and they shoot with an ABA ball, like, everybody loves watching the spin because you can kind of see, what your shot's doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's really fun to be able to track a red, white, and blue ball through the arena. And they knew, because they were a rival league, the guys who started, they were the owners. They were relatively small businessmen who wanted to be NBA owners, but the NBA wouldn't let them in. So they just said, well, we'll start a rival league and keep the sports out there. And so they brought in players that had been historically overlooked. They brought in players from HBCUs. They brought in anybody who could play was able to. It was merit-based. It really didn't matter, where you came from or what you looked like. It was about what you could do on that court. And it was it became amazingly popular, except for TV contracts. right? So they had to play in smaller cities. They played in Indianapolis and Louisville instead of Boston or New York. And so the league was always kind of struggling for money. And so that became, to your original point, it's always about money. The thing that brought the two leagues to have to combine in 1976.
But you know,
he's got transformational players, right? Tons came out of the NBA.
Michael, what the problem that I saw why you guys got involved is that when the NBA decided, well, okay, we're gonna bring some of your team in and we're gonna take care of the players, and then they went and sat down with the NBA owners, and what I call it, one of those Don King contracts. And the players, they thought they were set, man. They thought they were set, but there was some language in there that didn't protect us. Tell us about that, Michael.
Yeah, so 1976, this goes from being a sports story to a business story. And that is exactly what you just described. Is when it's a business deal, is who's got the best lawyers. And the ABA did not have the best lawyers. In fact, they barely had a lawyer. And so this contract that represented what's called the merger of the two leagues, but really wasn't. It was just an expansion, like you said. They brought in 4 teams that are still in the NBA to this day. The Pacers, the Spurs, the Nuggets, and the Nets. Those were all ABA teams that were brought in 1976. And then the rest of the league just folded. And the players, they had a union rep who, the ABA union rep was a guy, he's a nice guy, respected guy, but he didn't know what he was doing in terms of being, reading legal documents. And he was advised that, yeah, you guys will have tenure, is what they called it. Basically your ABA years will count towards getting NBA retirement benefits. That's healthcare. That's a pension. Just the basic things that you would think you would have if you had worked to build something over the course of time in a company. And so what happens, sadly, is that they sign this deal and the ABA goes away. 20 years later, they're calling the NBA and saying, hey, how do I get my pension started? The NBA say, you don't have one. And so some guys out of the ABA made it into the NBA. Okay, let's just say 20% of them. I don't know what the number is. Some guys did okay in life after playing basketball in the ABA. And then other guys really struggled. And, to the point where, they couldn't afford their insulin or life-saving medicine. They're being evicted. One guy was homeless. Some really, really sad stories.
Right.
In the meantime, 1976, the NBA wasn't all that as a business. It was a relatively small, kind of regionalized sport. But over time, Bird Magic comes in and it starts to grow, and TV contracts get bigger. Jordan comes in, bigger. Dream Team, bigger, and so on, to the point where, their last TV deal, which they just signed, is, I think it's roughly $80 billion over 11 years. It's amazing and it's great. Nobody begrudges a business growing and doing well for itself. But you got your legends back here who built the foundation, like factory workers who build a company up, and then when it gets sold, they get nothing. That's what happened to these guys.
Yeah. So it's pretty much built on their innovation, and
Absolutely.
they're not reaping any of those benefits. So the ABA players promised the benefits that never came due to the way the contract was written. And now they still feel like they don't need to share this profit with these players who innovated the game and expanded their business for them. It's like human dignity versus corporate interests.
That's very much what it is. And
Shannon,
that's the tension in the story.
Shannon, do you have the trailer? Do you have the trailer anywhere around?
We don't have the trailer only because it wasn't packed into the stuff. But we'll definitely run that
before
the show was over. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, you know what? I guess you know what I am so familiar with what went down because I was back there during that time, and I had great friends like George McGinnis, and I had Fatty Taylor, who was everybody loved Fatty Taylor. Fatty introduced me to George Gervin. I mean, Julius Irvin. I had all them guys on my show, man. And, you know, some of them went on and made well. I'm Jimmy Jones, man, one of the classiest young men you ever want to meet, you know. And he's out here struggling, driving a Uber in Las Vegas. Come on, man.
Yeah.
All the money.
Jimmy played for the Bullets for several years.
That's where I met him, man, because Jimmy, well, he was from Grambling, and I had a good end with the Grambling people. Just one of the nicest people that you ever want to meet. But it wasn't about being nice, man. It was about a dollar bill. And when you see that David Stern had a part of that, you know, hey, man, it was about the dollar bill. And David,
we got the trailer right here.
Okay, David Stern was in a position, man, to make things right, right? He could have made things right, but he didn't. Let's take a look at this trailer, then we'll come back and get with our next guest. Let's run that. Very nice, very well put together, man. Very well.
The ABA was like a fraternity, and almost like a secret fraternity. Both ridiculous and sublime. And it was underrated. We knew that the larger basketball world did not fully appreciate how good this was.
They were slam dunking the three-point shot. That was all the ABA.
Today's NBA game is 100% an iteration of what the ABA players started in 1967.
You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. You know, players who got screwed, and I don't think that is a wrong that'll ever be righted.
It's like you cheated people out of their money. I mean, how else can you say it?
He's just the beginning. ABA players lying under bridges, sleeping, homeless.
Most of the players at the time were showing me redacted pages what exactly happened in 1976 when the two leagues combined.
We're finding out things that we weren't even aware of.
It was really a biblical story of David versus Goliath. I mean, we were three guys that took on the billion-dollar NBA industry.
There are these former players out there who set the table at which you have people today making $30 and $40 million a year. What are we going to do for them? Because this is bigger than basketball. What are you going to do?
Exactly what they did. Before we move on, Mike, I want you to tell us about your other two partners, how you three got together, and when did you decide, hey, we're gonna fight these guys for these players? Give us a little background there.
In terms of just following the Dropping Dimes Foundation?
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm an independent filmmaker. So I met, on background, the Dropping Dimes Foundation is a tiny little not-for-profit. Two of the guys you saw in the trailer there started it, co-founded it, and there's a third guy who came in a little bit later. And that's it. It was three guys trying to say, how can we help these guys financially? First of all, that was all it was. But then the guy with who's standing up with the checkered shirt, Scott Tarter, he is an M&A lawyer, so mergers and acquisitions, and that's exactly what this business deal was back in 1976. And so the players kept, as they were helping them financially, kept saying, we have a pension. They just never delivered it. And he was like, well, that's what I do every day. Let me look into this. And so he gets all the documents from the merger, of which, is like this thick. It was hundreds and hundreds of pages. And starts going through it. And at first he's looking at it and saying, it does look like they have that. The way it's worded would make anyone think, even a seasoned lawyer, look at it and say, you have a pension. Like, how come this was never delivered? And so he spent a lot of time going through that. And then over the course of time, ultimately getting the NBA's attention to at least start talking about it. Hey, how can we help these guys? Are you sure you don't know your legal responsibilities? And then even if there's some crafty way that you don't owe this money, how do we do the right thing? Because these guys need help, and you have no shortage of resources to be able to help them. And so it's following that journey. I met Scott by happenstance, really, and he started telling me what Dropping Dimes was doing, and I was like, that's incredible. I didn't know these guys were struggling, first of all, and then second of all, he was saying that we're very close. I've been talking with the NBA for well over a year. I think we're really close. And I thought I was going to follow it for about 6 weeks and make a short film, about a 10-minute film, because it was going to be a feel-good story. NBA is going to step up, and these guys are going to get help, and everybody's going to feel good and go home. And it turned into something much, much bigger than that, because 6 weeks came and went, 6 months came and went, and on and on.
Wow.
And there's an urgency because these guys are older. They're passing away. You got to help them.
I think what really got everyone's attention was that the ball player that was lying in the hospital bed with the basketball dying, man, and couldn't get any help whatsoever. And I think that really got everybody's attention, man, that brought them to the table, but by bringing them to the table, that wasn't the end of it. It didn't end right there.
No.
Man.
His name was Sam Smith, and he's heroic. Is basically the last thing he did on this earth was allow that picture to be taken. He played for 5 years in the ABA. He won a national championship at Kentucky Wesleyan. He was the first black player at the University of Louisville. He's a great player. But maybe the most important thing he ever did was allow that photo to be taken, and it broke through.
Well, Michael, man, I want to thank you, man, for the great job you did with the film and what's called what's the Dime Association?
Dropping Dimes. Dropping Dimes.
Dropping Dimes that picked it up, that brought you guys, got your attention, man, and it is a great documentary. But I don't want you to go anywhere, because I want you to meet our next couple of guests who had some great stories too, man, and have been doing some fantastic things. This next guy, we've been together, man, over 50 years, I know, because when his brother won the gold medal in the 1968 Olympics, well, he came to Washington to be represented by a friend of mine by the name of Harry Barnett, who was an attorney. And that is how I met our next guest. He went on, today he's a promoter, he's a talk show host, he knows boxing inside out. And the thing about that I love about him, man, that it really, he's loyal, loyal. He's loyal. He's been there for me ever since I got started in this business. He was there in 1972 when Inside Sports got off the ground. And I got to say, man, that, he's been like a brother to me, and as always, you need that one person out there that you can pick up the phone and call. That's going to say, okay, Harold, I'm going to be there if I can, but I will let you know if I can. See, that's the kind of communication that we all had. It wasn't about whether I was going to get this project off the ground, but he was there to help me. In fact, not only did Muhammad Ali give me the only interview after that fight in 1974, but he was the only other insider to talk about his brother before the fight and how he reacted after the fight. I got that only interview, and I want to show that to you to see if I can go up here and show me it. I can bring it down here, where I can hook it up here with my great friend.
Well, the Rumble in the Jungle was actually a thought of Price, great, I guess, music producer at that time, but also artist himself, who wanted to do something a little bit different. And he came up with this idea of bringing the top music makers to the jungle. And somewhere along the way, he brought in this guy named Don King, guy with the hair, and said, let's put this together. Well, Don, this light goes off in Don's brain, who says, wow, maybe we should make it a little bit better, because nobody's just going to tune into Africa to watch a bunch of people dancing. Great idea as it is. So Don said, let's put a boxing match. And I know the boxing match that we can get. We can get George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. And we're going to call it the Rumble in the Jungle. That's where it started.
And that's where it started. And what a classic it turned out to be.
Yes, it was. Yes,
and tell me something about your brother. Now, he had beat up on Frazier and Norton. He manhandled him. Did he think that Muhammad had a shot at beating him?
But at this time, George was like any 24-year-old. Ali was like 32, which today, I mean, seems like nothing. But, at that time it was like, oh. So George was a 24-year-old kid that liked to do everything in a hurry. So why not let this fight be any different? Not realizing the mind of the person more than the physical part of the person he was coming up against in the ring that night.
So when he realized, did he really think that he could beat the champ? He thought he could.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it was supposed to, if you read all these stories, this is King Kong. George was King Kong. I mean, this was the thing. He was the baddest guy on the planet. He had destroyed Frazier, destroyed Norton, Joe Roman, and everybody in his way. Everybody that gave Ali any difficulty. George just like walked through them. So no, this was supposed to have been, and guys were saying like, oh, well, reporters, if Ali, if he survives this thing over here, probably never box again. So, but you know what? It has to be made, and it's the Rumble in the Jungle. And some people even say, well, good thing that's way over here, because now the police want to put George in jail for killing an old man. I mean, that's the way it went.
So now, losing the championship, what did that do to your brother's self-esteem?
It's one of these things where you have this thing that you've held on to. It's never yours, but you think it is. Titles are like that, So that's why they put different names on them all the time, because they don't belong to any one person. But it doesn't matter. After a while, you get to thinking that it is yours. And then when that's taken away from you, you have to find other ways for your life to feel fulfilling. And it was very devastating to him. And it probably took, I would almost say, 20 years, to a point to get it back. Of course, other things, there were things in between that made his life.
Okay, that was a fantastic. In fact, when George saw this particular interview, he told Roy, hey man, that's the best one I've seen. Hey, I'd like to introduce my dear friend, Mr. Roy Foreman. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing fine, Harold. How you guys doing?
Morning.
Go ahead,
Can you
man.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I'm doing great.
I just want to say, man, my deepest sympathy, and we already had that about your brother passing, man.
Yes, sir.
He was a great friend to me. People didn't realize that I was not only a friend to Muhammad Ali, I was a friend to George. And then when George came to town, he made sure that I knew he was in here, and it was he had some difficult times, man, during coming up as a young man, and he didn't get where he was by himself, and it was family and other people that really pushed him. Tell us a little bit about that background of your brother, Roy.
I mean, it's the story, and George has like 3 phases in his life, and very seldom person have a chance to have that, because I'm listening to the documentary that Michael is doing, which I think is a fantastic piece. It's almost as if it's it's a story about boxing, but with a basketball, just as well, just as well. So that's people in the background talking. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Uh, um, it's almost and most people and watching the background on the basketball he was doing, because that's the same situation that boxing has, right? But George was very fortunate to be a part of those cycles that he finished out on top, when it easily could have been another way. You know, when he left Houston, he was a bad boy. And a lot of people say, oh, we left Houston, became a boxer, and became a goat. But that wasn't why he left Houston. He left Houston because he was about to be killed. and I'm just by the streets, but the police, that's how bad of a boy that he was. I mean, there was a movie they had once about the baddest man in town by Brian Donahue. I saw that movie. And I'm going to tell you, at 16 years old, 15 years old at the time, he was that man, that boy.
Wow.
He had to leave town to save his life. And but there were so many things. Our family, you know, my father and his father and my mom, they were sharecroppers in East Texas down in Marshall. But sharecroppers is a misleading word. It's a misleading word when people say sharecroppers, because you didn't share in anything with those people, okay? They were picking cotton. And if you've ever seen how light cotton is, you've got to pick so much just to get a bag full. So when they say sharecropper, that's even that just doesn't go with the two doesn't go together. So anyway, we came from a family that was like a family of sharecroppers, dirt poor people, man. And I say that not now, or not even now, but as the years came about, it's a thing that we were proud of, because we came from it showed that with hard work and so, the same thing. They say hard work, you can do this, but that doesn't happen to everybody, because I believe everybody works hard. But George left when my mom came to Houston. She had the process of raising 7 kids, one who developed polio, my younger brother Kenneth, who developed polio. There were no programs for them back in the 50s that said, you can go here, you can go there. So we had we started out with problems. He started out with problems, since we're talking about him, but the family in itself started out with problems. And a lot of it is what led to the fact that he was so angry. And anger can do a lot of things to these young. I see it right now in these young kids. Now people keep saying, why are these kids shooting? Well, they're angry about a lot of things. Anger leads to that. So when he left, I remember the story. You know, my mom told him one night, and I'll tell this story. I know we don't have that much time, but this is the first part of his life. George was 15 years old, and by this time he was even an alcoholic, to be honest with you guys, right? Smoking and drinking at 15, because there's always some man in the neighborhood that would turn a young man out easily. But rather see him get in trouble. It's easier to see him get in trouble than to help him out. Like I said, we had one program. Right. So we had a program called the Hester House that boys could go to, play basketball, swim, play football, and stuff like that, to kind of keep you out of trouble. Or you could go to school. But school and George just didn't go together. Those two didn't go together. So he got outlawed from going to the Hester House. He was so bad. That's, that was the scenario. So this particular night, my mother at this time was working in a dive, as they call it, one of those diners, where you truckers, what they cook, short order cook. That's what what it's called, short order cooks. George comes home, and he had gotten hold of something that night, man, that was just horrible. He was drunk we don't know what it was. There was no controlling. My mom had to call my older brother, Robert, we called him Sonny, who was just as big as George, to come over and try to control him, because she said, and his nickname was Monkey. We didn't call him George. His nickname was Monkey. And that was his nickname. Nobody, and and that story goes even to the next part of the Olympics. But he gets into a fight with my brother that night. Now here's this grown man fighting a 15-year-old boy, and when I tell you, they tore it down. But what happened, Sonny started getting the best. He leaves the house, running down the street. It's 2:00 in the morning. He's running down the street, and my mother tells my brother Sonny, "Say, you go behind that fool because he's going to get himself in trouble. Somebody's going to kill him." Well, I'm about 10, I think, at the time. So, and she said, "Roy Dean, that's."
Oh no, Roy, we
He's
lost.
running down the street, no shoes, no shirt. Done, no shoes or shirt on, right? So as he's going down the street, he bumps into some guys from another gang that finally caught him without his boys. He's drunk, and he's such a big fool. Rather than him run away, he's going to try to fight him. But by this time, my brother Sonny comes up on him, and he said, "No, I'm not going to let you guys jump on my brother." So now they're fighting. Sonny, George is drunk, don't know what's going on, but they're fighting, going into this whole situation. But in the meantime, all of a sudden, you look up, Sonny is still fighting, but Jordan took off down the street, running, because he doesn't know what's going on. He goes to a place called Lowndes Avenue. This is in Fifth Ward, and at that time, Fifth Ward was called the Bloody Fifth. And he goes to raising hell on this street up at this particular business. This is a place where all the players and the pimps went to after the clubs closed down. This is where they went to get their food, So everybody's hanging out there. He's raising hell. He's doing all kinds of calls. The people are mad. Gets into a fight with the people around there. They call a paddy wagon. At that time, we used to have these things called a paddy wagon.
Right.
Paddy wagon come up, and they see him raising all this hell. So the cops think they're going to go up and grab him. No, that ain't going to work tonight. He gets into a fight with the cops. I'm telling you, man. I'm like, I'm screaming, I'm crying. I'm 10 years old, man. I don't know what to do. He's fighting the policeman. They're trying to fight him with their hands. For some reason, today they would have shot and killed him, man. I don't know why they did.
Yeah.
Well, God, but he's fighting these guys. So the cop comes up on me, hits this cop, knocks him down. Another one comes, he knocks this guy down. Then in between us, he takes up one and throws him into the glass windows in the Dairy Queen.
Whoa.
So now at this time, they got every right to shoot and kill this boy. I mean, that's what they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the cop gets behind him and hits him in the back of the head. They had a billy club, they carried those billy clubs. And they got him down to his knees, and they finally got him. And that's the way they got him done. That was the first part of the George Foreman story that I seen. I had no idea, it was just, the jail was the next part.
Mm-hmm.
But the next morning, as my mother gets my brother-in-law to get him out of jail, the cop said to my mother, "This boy needs to be a fighter." She ain't had no fighter on her mind, nothing like that. That's how he raised.
Get his son out of jail.
Yeah, getting him out. She said, he needs to be a fighter. My mother like, no, he needs to be out these streets. And one of the other policemen told him next time they were going to kill him. So they got, that thing where the Job Corps comes up. He didn't go to the Job Corps to become no fighter. They told him at the Job Corps, and Jim Brown, who you had to rent, was a very big part of that. And they told him, you go to the Job Corps, you get a second chance in life. And it was like, what's my first chance? Okay, so that was really his first chance. He told my mother when he leave, he said, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to get my GED. I'm going to get a job as an electrical engineer. That's what they told him they was going to train him in the Job Corps for. I'm going to come back and get you a car so you won't have to go and take your clothes, carry your clothes down the street with my brother's wheelchair, because we didn't have a car. With using my brother's wheelchair as a way to carry your clothes, and we pack in a wagon. We had packing on our back. We had, like I said, 7 people and 9 people in our family, and that was the embarrassment part. So going to the Job Corps saved his life, but he got out life not because he was just trying to do anything great. It's just that when he got to the Job Corps, trouble found him in the Job Corps. They were about to kick him out of there because why? The attitude that he left. He didn't leave it there in Houston. He brought it with him. Yeah. Your Kids in Trouble program is a reflection of what these kids have to learn from somebody that teaches them that your anger has to be channeled some other way. There was no dream. He didn't leave there with a dream. He didn't leave there with a plan. He just left there to way to save his life from being killed in the streets of Houston, 5th Ward, Texas at that time. Everything else kind of fell into line. Doc Brodus and all the other things, teaching boxing, going to the Olympics, and all the other things leading up to the life of being able to live a luxurious life from the time he was about 19 years old until his death. But in between that, we had some of the greatest events ever. Winning the Olympic gold medal, beating Joe Frazier for the title, losing to Ali, but still being a part of the biggest boxing match ever in sports. It's never been, I don't care how big they have anything else, nothing is ever going to be as big as the Rumble in the Jungle. Nothing.
No, but one thing, man, that I lived personally with you was the Rumble in the Jungle. And then after that 20-year span of George trying to get his act together, and we were together that night in Atlantic City when George pulled that big upset. What was that boy's name, Roy?
Which one did? Holyfield was in Atlantic City. Michael Moore was in Las Vegas.
What's the boy before that?
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. We were there together. And man, and I told somebody, I said, man, Michael got this fight won. All he got to do is stay away from George. If he stand in front of him, George is gonna knock him out. And this fool stood in front of George. Go ahead.
Boy, that's that youthfulness. That's what I tell you about again. Yeah. Young folks got to do everything in a hurry. They couldn't do it. You're right. All he had to do was stay away for another 2.5 rounds, and he had the title recouped on his own. But that night, it just wasn't to be. But I'll tell you something, guys. It was a God-given thing, and people say, "Well, God and sports, God," and it's true. God likes everybody, but George had become a minister. In a couple of years after, in 70s, actually it was 3 years after. I always laugh. People say Ali sent him to preaching, but it's not really what happened. But it might have something to do with it. That's okay because it all worked out. That was a plan that God had in line. George went to become a preacher after the thing in the dressing room experience with Jimmy Young. After the fight was over with, he had that was the second part. That's what I mean. I'm saying he had this thing in his life that everything drastic led to something that was unimaginable. And that night in the dressing room, I'll tell you guys, it set forth a plan of everything that was supposed to be, because he actually said he felt he died in that dressing room, and I seen it. I was in there with him, man. I seen everything that took place. I can't even describe it to this day. They can, people try to say, I've heard people say I've had this certain, I seen it, premonition, but I'm telling you, I don't know what went on that night, guys. All I can tell you, and I know I'm going backwards, Harold, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to lead. I want people that listen to this to understand what his life was. That night in the dressing room, he said he died. And he said he seen God. And he said, man, in this vision, I told God, I got money. I can do this for cancer. I give you all my money, whatever you want. He said, but God told him, man, I don't want your money. I want you. That changed everything in his life. Guys, we went in the dressing room in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And there was like 12 men in that dressing room. Me, him, doctors, the trainers, everybody else. He got into a situation that he was like uncontrollable. Nobody could hold him down. I mean, big man, but we had some big guys in our security team with us during that time. They could do nothing. He was slinging these guys around like they were nothing. I'm telling you, it's almost like heretic, I guess, when you think about stuff like that, man. That's what it was. Right. This was crazy. But I'll tell you guys something that lets me know something was different. We always, back then, fighters, and they still do it, maybe they do it today too, but back then they always took a record. Well, we had record players. I don't know. Some of the guys, this young man, Shannon might not know what a record player is, but a record player we had this little record player we always took, and we played music on it, right? That's kind of like got him into his mindset. And there was a song that was being played by Sam Cooke called "A Change Is Gonna Come," right? That was the name of it. Doing all this knocking, fighting, things getting kicked over, that thing kept playing. It was never knocked over. It kept going. over and over. And I realized that after everything was over, but then my mind still wasn't on that. But I remember that this song kept saying, I go to my brother, however the word said, but I know a change is going to come. Mm-hmm. That was the second part of George Foreman. Like a change did come. Mm-hmm. And that change led to everything that happened to him later in his life. Fighting Holyfield, the business deals we made, regaining the title, the HBO, the books, everything that he did, that was that change. And they'll tell a story about George Foreman, bad boy, heavyweight champion of the world. But most can't tell that story because they didn't see it. I did. I was there. I saw these changes. I know what happened. And, like I let it, people talk about it, I let it go. But this is a story that has to be told the right way. Even the movie didn't tell it. They told us, and Michael can tell you there's always something to a script that they only got 2 hours to put something together, so you can't put the whole thing. But
that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if the film really depicted him, but it's always something like you said.
Yeah, it did. I mean, and when I tell you, man, it was like, it was an amazing story, guys. I mean, that's all I can say. Winning the title 10 years later, all on, in the same old trunks that he bought in. Because I never forget, I asked him, I said, man, why are you bringing them old trunks? And they said, I think I'm gonna wear these. He said, I can fit them. Okay, and I laughed at him, man. I said, okay. Because we had, we always had new stuff printed up, and especially for a title fight, you got new robes and all. He said, no, man, I'm wearing these trunks. And he did. He wore those old trunks. And if you look at the shoes, you're going to see those old Adidas shoes, man. That's the amazing thing. This was God given. And I know people keep saying, we don't have to have God and everything. Well, I can't. I don't know nothing else to give it to, guys. I'd like to say it was joy, but George is a body. But that was the good Lord's work. And everything that came along after that, was just, it's unimaginable. And it's one of the greatest stories in life, not just sports, but one of the greatest stories in life. And I tell people all the time when I talk to young kids and anybody else, they say, what was George? I say, the one thing is that he cared. And the difference between the George Foreman 24 years old, the George Foreman 40, 44, 45, he cared for people. And that's what becoming that minister part of him that made him appreciate people did for him. And I tell people, his favorite thing was, there was a song that my mother used to always sing, if I can help somebody. And that's being able to help somebody along the way. That's the George Foreman legacy. Yeah, the championship and the grill and all the Pepsi and all the commercials, that's great. But I'm telling you what, the legacy he wanted to live with it. I cared about people.
Well, man, he's left that legacy with you, Roy, and I've appreciated you over the years. Appreciate you both, man, because I've been blessed, man, to have been able to have conversations with you that I couldn't have with anyone else. And you have always understood, man. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Now, are you still doing your talk show? Roy?
I'm in the process of restarting it up, another podcast again. So
okay,
and the reason I'm doing the one I'm doing now is a little bit different. I'm doing one with a group called CAN, C-A-N, which is a nonprofit organization. We're trying to help fighters now. Michael, I'm listening to Michael. I got to find out, when is his documentary? Is it out yet, or is he still?
It's out.
Because I'm looking, because what we're looking with CAN to do now is for comeback athletes. And I always forget that. C-A-N. Anyway, it's called CAN. I get this information on it because we're in the process now. We've been helping some fighters. Guys help, get guys.
One of the things, man, George, Michael is going around the country and taking this film and showing it to different groups. So maybe somewhere, up there in New Jersey or somewhere where he could come up and have a group, have a screening, man. So if you
that would be great. That would be great. I mean, I heard him say something about February. You're going to be near Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Okay, in Baltimore.
So February.
Yeah. So let's keep, because I would love.
Okay. Yeah, we'll hope. I'll connect you with Mike.
Let's talk, because that's something. And looking at that, what I like about it is he's telling the story story. You know, like you said, the gentleman laying in bed. See, these stories don't. All we ever get is the glamour.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. I think it's 4 or 5 years after these guys. I know a lot of, as we all know, a lot of former athletes, man. And I'm finding stories from some of these guys that 4 or 5 years after they out, they have no more insurance anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Their health insurance. If they have no money, they have no help, man. These guys, I know some. I'm not using names, but man, there are some guys that's going through some stuff right now that played in the 70s and the 80s, even now. And these guys, and this, you know, people always say, well, they should have saved their money. Well, yeah, you try to do the best you can. You got families and you helping people, but there's at the end of the day, nobody to help these guys, man. And you played, you put your soul, your body, and like the movie, your body and soul out there.
Yeah.
And people clap for you, they cheered for you. But when the cheering stops,
right.
Amen. And I think that what he's putting together is what people need to know. So I will, you know, let me know how it works, Michael. I see what I can set up.
We got another brother that's gonna be a part of this whole thing because he's doing something so fabulous, man, that is unbelievable. And I don't know how I got hooked up with him, but we got hooked up. Now, Roy, you remember Ebony magazine? You know,
yes.
that was our Bible, man. Ebony and Jet were our Bibles, man. Right. And when Mr. Johnson died, you know, everything, it just lost everything. Well, this young man that I've met, he has put together that same type of format where the stories that need to be told, he's going to be telling them in his magazine. And that magazine, man, Black Zones, I've had an opportunity to watch him the past few issues. And man, I tell you, this guy by himself, when you see Roy, when you see this magazine, and well, Michael already knows about that because he has a story in there this month. But he is doing stories, man, like have never been told before. And I just take my hat off to him, man, because he's not waiting for someone to rescue him. He's out there by himself, and man, I'm so glad that I hooked up with this guy. I would like to introduce my friend, Mr. Maurice Woodson of Black Zones magazine. How you doing, Maurice?
I am good. I'm frozen. How's everything? Can you see
everything fine? Tell us about how you came up with this idea to put Black Zones magazine together. Tell us about that journey.
You know, it's funny for me. It's kind of full circle. When I was in my early 20s, I guess I was like 21, 22, I started being mentored by Ed Lewis of Essence, Tony Brown and Tony Brown's Journal, Earl Graves, and I got into the magazine business. I mean, even before that, I started a little neighborhood magazine in the Bronx called The Black Connection when I was like 16. But I ended up getting up, I ended up working and writing for Right On Magazine, writing for Word Up Magazine. I actually became editor of Black Beat Magazine for years. You know, those were our magazines as young people. Of course, I loved Ebony, I loved Jet, I loved Essence, and being able to be there was kind of powerful. Also, being around WBLS and all those radio stations was an amazing thing for me and inspiration. My life went so many different directions since then. I'm an author, I'm a historian. I've gotten into the movie industry, the music industry, all those things. And now I came back into the magazine world mainly because I am so tired of the media not telling our stories. I'm so tired of the media being so sided, one-sided. And I wanted to tell our stories. I also wanted to educate us with our history. I wanted to educate us with what's going on of interest to us. You know, this magazine was designed to promote Black love, Black joy, Black history, Black culture, Black life. So anything that has to do with us is what I wanted to do. And that's how the magazine came into being, you know, and I keep on trying to make it the best version of itself so that people will be able to find things that they don't have to worry about having the influx of information from other people. It's owned by Black people. Well, it's owned by me. But, at the end of the day, it is exactly what we need now. We need our own platforms. We need our own magazines. We need our own stories. We need to be able to be out there connecting with us. If there was ever a time for that, it's now.
Maurice, I gotta say this, man, that this magazine, this is a subscription now, which makes it good. And we got to get people to subscribe to this, man, because you are really on to something, especially when people get a chance to see the formats that you have and how well it is edited. The stories are told, man, fantastic. In fact, this month, like we said, we got the waiting game in there, and you allowed me to write that story as a way of getting our stories told. That's why I'm doing this podcast with Shannon, because I feel mine is another vehicle that we need, because we got so many frauds out there, man, that are telling stories that never get back to us. We're always the last to know. And so, man, that's why I take my hat off to you, Maurice. What are some of the stories in this Christmas issue that you like that you have put in the December issue?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of great issues. First, let me say also, it's free. It's free to read. Will always be free to read. I'm not charging anybody to read the magazine. I want people to be able to find it. I want people to be able to read it. But as far as the stories, one of the most important stories in it is we kind of deal with end of year holiday blues, which a lot of people go through, but nobody really talks about. Mental health is important. Depression is important. But on a happier note, we actually deal with a lot of Black companies. Again, in a world where so many of these companies are bowing to Trump and racists, and they're shutting down their DI organizations and departments, we wanted to make sure that we focused on Black companies. So we kind of did, there's actually 3 sections. We talk about boycotting racist businesses and shopping only Black businesses this holiday season and going forward. And so what I did is there's 30 Black-owned brands that are perfect for Christmas giving. And I'm talking about jewelry. I'm talking about earphones and technology and video games and toys and dolls and clothes and footwear and home goods. Across the board, if you can think about something that you would give a gift, we cover it inside there. We also did about 30 food brands. So like if you don't want to go and buy canned vegetables or anything that rice, pasta from other companies, you can buy it from Black-owned companies. There's Black-owned companies that cover everything. So we listed about 30 different Black brands that are perfect for making any meal, food and beverage. And again, we have the all the gifts that you can buy.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great work. Great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shannon,
So
you
we
have
got,
I just
yeah, we got
subscribed to
the
this.
Black
So
Zone.
I just subscribed.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, like I said, we want to reach people. I wanted to mention quickly that we have some exciting things coming up too. We're launching our own Twitter-like social media site as well. So Black Zone Social should be live before the end of the year. And if you're tired of the bots and the racist attacks on X, you'll be able to sign up and have conversations just like Twitter. It works a lot like the same situation. We don't want to reinvent the box and confuse people too much, but it's different. You don't have the same limitations that you have with that. You don't have to pay these extra fees just to be able to reach people and stuff. But it's a way of our community and the community that understands who we are to be able to have those kind of conversations, to be able to communicate, build communities, and have the same kind of discussions that we have in the magazines.
Man, that is so good.
Do you have an app right now? Is there an app for this?
No, it's live on the website. Well, it won't be live on the website until right between Christmas and New Year's. It's there now. You can actually sign up membership right now. If you go to blacksoulmagazine.com, you'll see the thing for that. There's a little ad for it, but you can actually sign up to the social media platform. The app will be ready by sometime between the end of January and February.
Yeah, I just signed on your Instagram account too. So.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Harold done brought me up to date
We're
on
trying
all
to build
this
something, man. We're trying to build something.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna build something, man. I want to take this time, man, to thank all three of you guys for, with my executive producer Shannon, because these are the kind of shows. I've been to a Facebook. They put me in jail so many times. I say,
right.
They don't know our history. So when I talk about things they don't know, they're gonna censor you. I told my wife, I am not going back to Facebook jail. They got it. So what you are doing, Maurice, is needed, man. There's no doubt about it, man. And we got some people here, with Michael and with Roy, that we can do some things together. So what I want to do, I want to give everybody the last minute or last word to go out. Let's start with you, Michael. Thank you so much, man, for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really greatly appreciate it.
Oh, it is an honor to be on your show, and I've seen the magazine. It's great. And there are historic Black businesses featured in there too. There's one of the first car manufacturers arrival to Henry Ford was a Black man. Fantastic story. If you want to check out The Waiting Game, we have our website, thewaitinggamemovie.com. The film's on there. You can stream it there. And then we're actually, because streaming, like you talk about Facebook jail, we're kind of in streaming jail. Where you tell a story like this, where you're taking on kind of a moneyed interest. It's hard to find distribution for independent films like that. Independent films are really the only ones who do stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm starting my own streaming distribution service. It would be called The Realist, REELIST. TheRealist.stream is where you find it on the website. But it's a film club, kind of like a Wine of the Month club, but it'll be a Film of the Month club. And we're going to feed you these fantastic films that nobody ever gets to see. And then we make sure that the filmmakers get paid, right? So the thing that happens is, because streamers won't pick this stuff up, independent filmmakers are going out of business. And so we're going to try and fix that. And so the Realist Indie Film Club launches February 1st.
Awesome. Let's go.
I want to say congratulations to Michael. Man, y'all got the #1 football team in college, Indiana.
They're for real.
Ain't that something? Hey, look, can you imagine Bobby Knight looking up or looking down, saying, what the hell is going on?
It's a good question whether he's looking up or looking down.
So, man, congratulations, man.
Hey, man, I lost a 6-pack of Pepsi on that one right there. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, no way they gonna beat Ohio State.
So the question is, are they gonna meet again at the end? In the national.
Yeah. Roy, you got your last word. Come on in, Roy.
No, I just want to thank you guys. I'm looking forward to actually talking to you guys, man, and Maurice and Michael, and meeting with you down this way. I'll figure out, Harold will keep us in contact, and I'll figure out some way once I learn more about what you need and what your needs are for doing that screening, and see if we can get that done down here in Atlantic City. I live just outside of AC, but I'd love to have you bring that down and figure out a way to do this. And then, Shannon, it's a pleasure meeting you, and hopefully we'll do this again.
You as well,
guys.
sir. Thank you.
We appreciate being here. Thanks so much.
Maurice, come on in, Maurice.
Hey, yeah, man. Like I said, we want to change the culture. We want to change perception for reality. We want to tell those stories. So, blackzonemagazine.com. You can go in and you can read the newest issue, the December holiday issue. You can read some of the back issues. You can go to our video section and watch some old classic movies and newsreels that most people don't ever get to see. We have a book section where you can read Black authors, books by Black authors, and of course you can sign up to the social media site. which, like I said, you can actually sign up now, but it officially goes live right after Christmas, and be able to have your conversations. You can post and do what you do. Which, you know, like I said, we're trying to really connect people and have a platform that's for us and those people who respect us, support us, allies of us, but really that tell our stories, our history. And it's needed right now. It's needed while we're being eliminated everywhere and hidden everywhere. It's time for us to control our own narrative.
Well,
absolutely.
As we go out of here, I got a couple of sad announcements to make. Lost some, not necessarily friends, but associates, and I know Roy had exactly what I'm saying. But anyway, one of the guys was a hell of a high school, DC Public High School football coach here. We kind of grew up together. He went to St. Aug. I went to Winston-Salem. He went to high school. We were always rivals, and he was a hell of a school. He must have sent almost 25 kids to the NFL. Now that's something from high school.
Absolutely.
And he was a teacher and a coach and
mentor.
I was the godfather of his son, Robert Headen Jr.
Wow.
We were football teammates on the Virginia Sailors, a minor league football team affiliated with the Washington Redskins. And I was his wide receiver coach at Cardozo High School. So I just want to say, Bob Headen, as we call him, rest in peace, my brother.
Rest in peace, Bob. Man, great guy.
And then we had another guy pass. He was part of the brain trust for Sugar Ray Leonard. His name,
boxing architects.
That's right. Janks Morton and Mike Trainer, they were the members of the Sugar Ray Leonard Brain Trust. And Janks Morton and Mike Trainer, you know, they guided Sugar Ray Leonard to become the first $100 million
wow.
recipient from pro boxing, man. And you know, as only thing I take credit for. And like I was there when he needed me, and I moved on. But I take credit for this, and I'm not. And Roy, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Of keeping him away from Don King. Don King was trying to get me to hook him up with Sugar Ray Leonard. Woke me up 6 o'clock in the morning here in DC, and I'm getting a call, and I said, "What the heck is going on, Harold? This is DK. I'm down here with Larry Holmes at the Hyatt, man. Come on down here, have breakfast with us." But what I didn't know is that Sugar Ray have a press conference at the National Press Club. So I got up, went down there, and I didn't even know it myself. Yeah, I'm taking Sugar Ray Leonard out to speak at schools. I got him on my radio show once a week, co-hosting. I don't even know that they're having a press conference. Well, I go down there, sure enough, there's Angelo Dundee, there's all the media there. And I'm looking at Don, and he's looking at me. I said, man, it's too late. They done got him.
They got him. Yeah, they got him.
The press conference, I grabbed Sugar Ray Leonard, grabbed Don King, grabbed Larry Holmes, and took them on my show, which my radio station at the time, I was operating right out of the National Press Building. And that's why you see that classic with me, Sugar Ray Leonard, Don King, Larry Holmes, and Dave Jacobs, man. But I'm so glad, man. And I was not a big fan of Mike Trainer and Janks Morton, but that's one thing that I am kind of proud of, man. I want to say as I go out of here, Shannon, thanks again. But there was a young brother in the media. He was 62 years old, man. He wrote for the Washington Afro-American. He was wrote for the Washington Post, 62 years old. And I remember one day I was getting on a bus on 14th Street to take the bus. It was a hot summer day. And there he was sitting in the seat. I always thought he was kind of scared of me because he would always get out of my way when he saw me. I walk into the back of the bus and I nod to him, you know, hello. So I made a U-turn, came back and sat beside him. And I said, James, how you doing? Small talk. He said, I'm doing fine, Mr. Bell. He said, what's your next project? Are you doing your Christmas toy party for the kids? I said, no, my wife, man, want me to get 40 years is enough a Christmas toy party. So he rung the bell. He's going to get off. So he said, Mr. Bell, is your number still the same? I said, yeah, James, my number's still the same. He calls me a month later. He said, once again, are you doing your Christmas toy party? I said, no, James, I'm not doing it. He said, well, we're going to do the Muhammad Ali piece. I'm gonna get the Washington Afro do a front page story on your documentary. I said, okay. And sure enough, October the 11th, 2014, I think it was, there was my picture on the front page of the Washington Afro with Muhammad Ali. This young man was nobody's cheerleader. He was honest and he had integrity, which we don't have in the media like that. James died at the age of 62. And man, he is slowly going to be missed by me. But those are the kind of people, man, that we need more of. But for some reason, God called him home. And I just want to say, as we go out here, I want everybody to remember that every black face you see is not your brother. And every white is not your brother. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. with my executive producer, Annie. Amen.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys.
Take care, everybody. Talk to you guys soon.
Today we talked about stars, systems, and stories that don't get told enough. When you know the game can't play you. Protect the truth, preserve the legacy, own your story. This is Inside Sports Legacy Network.